Hello, welcome back. First of all, there's Day. He looks a little creepy. Today I'm going to do an author spotlight. So I think this is kind of a little segment I'm going to start where I just share some of my favorite authors and some of their books just to spread the word, spread the love. Today I'm going to be talking about Madeline Miller. If you saw my Reading Rush vlog, you'll see that I just recently read her book, The Song of Achilles, and she's also the author of Circe, which those are two of my favorite books of all time. She's just awesome. I read Circe first. It's my beautiful hardback cover. She does have a little scratch right there, unfortunately, but yes, I read Circe first, but I'm going to be talking about the books in order that she wrote them. So to kick off this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about Madeline Miller and her background, and then I'll get into her books. Madeline Miller got her undergrad and her master's degrees in classics, so I feel like she's a pretty trustworthy source for classics retellings, Greek mythology retellings. She's been teaching Greek and Latin and Shakespeare for like 15 years or something like that, so again, I feel like she definitely knows her stuff. With all of her writing she's done, she has obviously researched a lot and puts a lot of love into it. I mean, knowing that she has backgrounds in classics just tells me that she really does love it, and I feel that when I read her books. She also has a really awesome website where she will give updates on her books and like TV adaptations and stuff like that, but you can also see the other writing she's done and like a bio. She's a bunch of Q&As on there, just a bunch of stuff on her website, which is really cool. And if you want to learn more about her, I would go to her website. Speaking of her other writing, before I talk about her novels, I have read 2 of her short stories, which I also want to talk about because they are really awesome. I'm not at all like an expert on Greek mythology, like I couldn't rattle off tales, but I do love to read Greek mythology. I think the characters and the stories are all really fun, usually. Also kind of horrible sometimes, but I just love to read Greek mythology, so anytime I can find a captivating story, or again, I love modern retellings, so I was really excited to find Madeline Miller's little short stories that she's written. Again, I think I found out about these from her actual website. The first short story I read from her was Galatea, which is a retelling of the story of, I believe, Pygmalion and Galatea, but it's basically the most beautiful sculpture comes to life. It's kind of spooky, but just like everything Madeline Miller writes, so beautiful and just like really captivating and really short too. And that one, I got the ebook, I believe, on the Apple Books app, I think. You should definitely read it if you like classics and retellings and whatnot. The second short story I read was Heracles' Bow, which is about Philoctetes. When I see that name, I think of Phil from Hercules. But anyway, a short and depressing story of Philoctetes and his death, basically. But yeah, that one, I think I just kind of looked it up and it was online for free, but I also know it's in certain editions of The Song of Achilles. Without further ado, I'm just going to briefly talk about Madeline Miller's 2 novels. They're both so good and have made it onto my list of favorite books. This one tells the story of Patroclus and Achilles and their relationship as young men as they grow into adulthood, and then ending obviously in the Trojan War. I think the only thing I heard of Achilles before I read this was your Achilles tendon, Achilles heel. You know, that was the weak spot that Achilles had. The only spot that he could be harmed was his heel. This just goes above and beyond. From what I've read, Plato originally said that Patroclus and Achilles were friends and then turned into lovers. So she took that idea and made her own story about it. I know she had to kind of create the story of the childhood because there was not a lot written about Achilles when he was younger. But I think she did an amazing job with this. It was so sad and devastating, but you really root for the characters, and I think it was just like so well written, so good. If you're wanting to read Madeline Miller, I would start with The Song of Achilles just because I feel like more people found it easier to read than Circe, but it is an awesome book and it won the Orange Prize. I believe that's for women's fiction, but yes, super great. And I love Circe. I don't care what anyone says. I guess it's just the style in which Madeline Miller wrote this, but some people couldn't read it or didn't really see the hype, but I loved it. The cover is super pretty. It's that like gold foil, and then there's a map. How can you not love a book with a map? The Odyssey is Homer's epic that tells the story of Odysseus when he was trying to make his way back home after the war and all the little shenanigans he got into. In the Odyssey, Circe is briefly mentioned. All that story kind of told us that she's a witch on this island, just kind of like hates men, turns them into pigs and animals, keeps them on her island. Odysseus goes, outsmarts her because Odysseus, and then they make out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But Madeline Miller took Circe and her little part in that story and made this own story all about her, and it's amazing and awesome, and I love it, and I love her. It just tells Circe's story from her childhood to how she gets on her island, what happens there, why she acts the way she does. She has a complicated past. She doesn't always do the best things, but she comes from a not horrible place. I loved Circe, and I ended up rooting for her. I love when people take a minor character and then just like expand and make their own stories. So I thought this was awesome, and I thought she did a really great job of turning this minor character into like her own hero. As I said, I've seen a lot of reviews and conversations where people just could not get into this book. So if you're going to read it, I would say don't go into it with that mindset first of all, but also just like give it some time. It definitely picks up speed as you go in, so don't give up on it too early. Also, I would say give the audiobook a chance, because a lot of times audiobooks can help bring stories to life, and especially pronouncing different names and places and stuff like that, audiobooks can be super awesome. So if you don't have luck with reading it with your eyeballs, read it with your ear holes and try the audiobook, because you might have more luck. Both of these books I think are full of adventure. You get some romance, you get some sad, you get some funny. It's just a great mix of everything you could ask for in a book, and I love Madeline Miller's writing. I would recommend her to everyone. And if you don't know what to read next, I would give one of these a try and go into it with an open mind, because you may end up discovering your new favorite. That's it for my first author spotlight. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I inspired you to read some Madeline Miller. Again, her website's super awesome. I'll put it somewhere. I hope you love her as much as I do, and that's it. I'll see you next time.